It's 8:30 Eastern Time, the only time zone that moved the doomsday clock closer to midnight this week, and that means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. On a snowed-in version of tonight's show, we finally talked Darian Mensah, and we explore the teams who apparently have angered the scheduling gods. All that and more right after the stinger. Austin Nace and Chris K here with you guys tonight. No Matt Bruning. We didn't cover for you last week, Chris. So should we cover for Matt this week? I mean, it feels like we've got a precedent now.
Yeah, I listened and I heard. I ignored. I leave the snarky Slack comments for other podcasts that you do. So,
well, thank you. I don't know. I do enough of them that I don't know if I can handle them on 3 different shows. So appreciate it. Yeah, where we've got some, we haven't weirdly talked Mensah at all, I think, during this whole saga. Maybe just because it hasn't been like the fresh thing on a Wednesday anytime we've gone live, or I don't know exactly why that is, but I thought tonight would be a good night since it seems like we've reached a resolution in that case that we're going to do that. Real quick, I decided we're doing all the pre-recorded ads now on the shows, and for the record, because we've had a lot of people ask, and I meant to mention this on Campus Life this week, the reason that we're doing this is because we are teaming up with Player Profiler, doing some different things with them. We are, I believe, technically a part of their network now. It doesn't change anything about the podcast feed. It's why we didn't make like some weird announcement. We didn't have to go anywhere else to listen to us or to see us or to do anything else with us. We weren't asking, no money involved like from you guys, but that is why there are some more ads and why we were pre-recording the ads now on the podcast feed here. But I decided we're live tonight, so I'm just gonna say we're both wearing home field stuff. We can just so that just feels natural. I actually have a home field shirt underneath this as well. So
great. And this icy cold weather, it's a great time for a crew neck sweatshirt. These are maybe the most comfortable items that they own, in my opinion. I'm actually wearing their joggers too.
I am as well.
Clashes. It's a really bad gray grout fit, as my wife would call it. So
we call it a squirrel suit. I like grout. Grout fit's good.
Squirrel suit.
Squirrel suit. Yeah, like a squirrel. They're gray.
I'll say that later and see what Megan thinks. But that's awesome. I like that one. But yeah, these things are comfy. I joke that I have used many emails to take advantage of promo codes across the years. I don't buy anything anymore. I've self-excluded. I have not probably 30 to 40 shirts purchased and another 5 to 10 more items, random items.
Well, we established last week that I don't think your wife listens to the show, so you don't have to say that, right? Your wife's not listening. You can, it's okay.
I can't do it anymore.
No. Yeah, well, you can use our promo code Campus2Canton, get you 15% off your first purchase with any email address. So that is that. And then head on over to Fast Draft. How many Origins drafts have you gotten in so far?
Just one. I keep trying randomly, and I haven't been able to lock it in.
You want to be sitting there and actually doing the draft.
I want to do them, at least the first couple. What's funny is I recorded Ball with My Bestie with Ethan, and we had both joined, and we just were like, all right, let's just do a podcast on the show. Ethan had done a couple drafts before, so we can speak to it intelligently and just basic thoughts. And it like literally went live mid-draft or mid-show. So we just made it a live draft show. And Colin was in it. And let's just say his picks were not very good.
That doesn't surprise me at all. You're lucky I'm not in it. You're lucky I'm not in it. That's all I got to say. No, I've auto-drafted. I've done, I think, I've about halfway to max entering it. I think you can do 33 entries. I have 17 or 18 done. I think probably 15 of them I've autoed. I don't know. Just set. I've completely changed the rankings. So like my queue is pretty set.
There's no positions, which makes it very, very easy to auto draft.
Yes. Yeah. You can just drag stuff around. And it is unfortunate that the ADP is starting to drag to what I had changed the rankings to, which is why I wanted to get at least half max entered before we got all the names in there and we start getting Senior Bowl stuff and all that good stuff. But long story short, guys, head on over to Fast Draft. You can do these Origins drafts. They've actually opened up, I believe, a season-long contest as well already for the NFL for next year, although obviously maybe less interest to our folks that are listening if you're into the college fantasy stuff. But you can use our promo code C2C, get a $50 deposit match over there. All right. Yeah, Darian Mensah. I know I see somebody in the comments said they just subscribed to the channel. So Anthony, welcome. Thanks for joining us here. Hopefully we don't let you down. As long as you're not a Liberty fan, I think you're going to find what you're looking for here. With very little, pushback from us. So that's our one rule here, I think.
That could not be more spot on. Dead true. Like, yeah, if you're a Liberty fan, you should just unsubscribe and walk away.
I try to be fair to every other fan base. Can't do it with them. Darian Mensah. And speaking of being fair to fan bases, I think we're going to have to try to be fair to the Miami fan base right now. And maybe some other ones, because I think maybe we'll spark a larger discussion as well. Obviously, if you haven't been under a rock, I presume most of our listeners have been following this Darian Mensah saga, the former Duke quarterback, who waited till the very last minute. I don't remember exactly how close it was to the portal deadline, but right up against it, and then threw his name in there, or at least attempted to. Duke cried foul, said that Miami had tampered, that they had a contract for 2 years that could not be broken by Mensah, at least not without significant compensation. Had a large back and forth with his very unprofessional attorney with random people on Twitter. If you didn't follow any of that stuff, I feel qualified as an attorney to say it was very unprofessional.
Qualified enough, at least.
And they finally settled. We'll never know what the terms of the settlement were in terms of, money wise. Chris, what were your thoughts on the whole thing? Whose side were you on?
I think I was probably on the side of Duke. I don't know how much I wanted to stick it to Darian Mensah, but to do it at the last minute, and also didn't he do some sort of post or something on social about coming back? That stuff just plays so poorly when you then ultimately do it. Some of these guys should just stop, because it's so possible that they leave. But I was kind of siding on Duke's side there, because to do it so late, it's just kind of scummy. I can't imagine Miami reached out at the very end and that was the first time ever. You have representation. Shouldn't somebody be telling you that Miami is interested, other schools are interested, what have you? So I was more on the Duke side. What about you?
Yeah, I was more on the Duke side. It felt to me, I agree with pretty much everything that you were saying there in terms of, the timing makes it really difficult. That was kind of the difficult thing with the Damon Williams stuff too, for a different reason. With the whole team was at a memorial service, and he noped out while they were all doing that. The timing is everything, I think, as we're finding out with these things. It did. And I'm interested that we didn't end up getting it litigated. So I was very interested to see what was going to happen, because we talked about this a really long time ago when they started talking about NIL. I don't know if it was on this show or if I talked about it with Colin. NIL is supposed to be name, image, and likeness. And it's actually a really big thing in European soccer specifically, or like in global soccer, where if you sign with a club, they'll retain 80% of your average, your name, image, and likeness rights for a certain amount of time and on the length of the contract. And then, because they can get you a Nike deal or, whatever kind of deals you're looking for, and you agree to that. And I've always said, if this is true NIL, if this is name, image, and likeness, is there going to come a time where somebody signs away their name, image, and likeness, and then is going to go somewhere else and not be authorized to profit on it, or at least not going to be privy to most of the proceeds? We almost got that here, because I don't know if you read a lot of this stuff, but he signed over his name, image, and likeness rights to Duke for a period of 2 years. So I was kind of hoping that selfishly that we'd get this drawn out to see what would happen, because I think that part of it, okay, you can't, it is I hate the slavery comparisons. It's not,
yeah, it's not.
You can't make somebody work because they had a contract. That's just not how it works. But you can maybe keep them from working elsewhere, or maybe keep them from reaping some of the benefits of working from elsewhere. It would have been really interesting to see everybody drag this thing out. So from that perspective, I was a little bummed it didn't happen.
Well, the NIL stuff is weird because it's no one's getting paid because they're doing anything related to NIL. It's
Correct.
Just people donating money to schools that then turn around and pay players with, and they say it's NIL. I don't see anybody on a jug of sweet tea back in the day with Bo Nix. Nobody's doing any of that, right? Bijan with his spicy mustard. Nobody's doing any of that. So that would be an interesting turn. And I don't know, maybe one day they'll be forced to actually do NIL. But yeah, that would have been an interesting angle to see.
Well, it's interesting too, because that was a part to me that kind of stood out, because I think the DeMond Williams money was rev share money, because his was a new deal that had just been signed, like weeks prior, days prior. I don't know what the timeline was there exactly, but his DeMond Williams was a new deal and it was rev share money. I don't know that Mensah's was. So I think that's an interesting differentiation as well, that obviously, we never really saw those things come to fruition. I think eventually we will, because I do think there's going to end up being a difference between how the rev share money is treated from a school and how the NIL money. And it's going to be interesting to see, are people only willing to sign deals if they're dipping into the rev share money? If they're dipping into the NIL money, is it going to be one or the other? Are they going to end up finally negotiating like CBA style to eliminate that difference? That was another thing that I was kind of hoping that we'd get litigated. I just was like sitting on the sideline going, fight, fight, fight. Like really, honestly, was how I just wanted to see a fight.
You were on the side really of the law. You were on the court is the side you were really on.
As a representative of the court. Yes. As was something that I was looking for. Yes. Yeah.
What do you think this means from like an NFL, not NFL, like a on-field perspective?
Well, Duke's replacement is Walker Eget, right? So for Duke, not good. For Miami, do you think he's going to be better than Carson Beck was last year? Because Beck was pretty good for them, minus the oopsie daisy, like 1 or 2 a week, maybe throws that he was good for, except for in the playoff where he magically held off until the very end there.
I think so, but not like substantially better. Like there's probably a little bit of what Beck provided that he can't provide, but he is a third-year starter at this point. Yep. Tulane obviously is a big program, and then Duke ACC, but I mean, he only led Duke to 7-5. I don't know if
is that a him problem though? I mean, the offense was pretty prolific. What do you throw for 3,500, 3,600?
I mean, he had a good year.
Should we talk about that? Because behind the scenes, we definitely had that discussion this offseason. Colin and I were definitely shouted down a little bit on the Darian.
He was QB 23 or 24 and P4.
We said QB4. We said he'd be QB2. That's good.
P4 only.
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
Weren't talking P4.
How do you know?
Because I know nobody talks about P4.
You go find
people that talk about
for
P4 are me and Ethan.
You go find.
I mean, it's fine. I think what the interesting thing there is he had a very good college season, and he really wasn't all that super valuable from a fantasy perspective. That's how impactful rushing stuff is, right? And I think Pigs or somebody had, maybe Nate or somebody had talked about volume just changing in terms of pass attempts and that type of thing. And it's just a different landscape now compared to 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. So these pass only guys aren't as valuable because, who throws it 40 times a game anymore? There's just nobody, where it used to be.
They're not running plays now, right? Isn't that
there's just not enough plays. Yeah.
So that cuts down on, even if that's your split and your intention is to throw the ball at that rate, you're not just getting the sheer volume that maybe you were getting before.
I think from a Miami scoring offensive perspective, I think they keep it rolling. I think Fletcher and the running back room is very good. Tony is obviously great. I think those pieces you're happy with, right? In terms of if you're a Duke, that kind of drags that offense down because Walker Eget is Walker Eget, right? So I think if you're on the other side, you're very happy that Mensah went over. And I mean, otherwise, who would it have been, right? It's some of these schools are kind of left without any options at quarterback, which is very scary for some of those skill guys.
Was Eget the best guy? I'm trying to think if there even are any other quarterbacks in the portal right now that would have been approachable and acceptable. I mean, Eget was the best guy that they could have gone and gotten with apparently a lot more money in their pocket now. I mean, I don't know what the settlement is, but I
think they probably just put it in their back pocket and said, we'll save it for next year or something, because I can't imagine if you're Walker Eget, you probably signed for whatever. You probably got $50K and you're just happy you're a P4 quarterback.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So they probably pocketed some nice money and then are just going to save it for the next year or something like that.
Do you think that means
go to the basketball team, as the Hammer 106 says in our chat?
There we go. Someone Dawson says Mensah feels a lot more like Ward than Beck. I think the team is worse, but the offense is more prolific. Yeah, I mean that's not. Miami actually does retain a decent amount of talent / kind of seems like they had in-house or portal replacements for a lot of what they lost. They keep the running back room. They lose a couple guys on the offensive line, but they've recruited the offensive line so hard. I have a feeling they're going to be as a unit. It might not be elite, but I don't think they'll be bad. The D line will still be dangerous. They bring back, it looks like, a lot of the DBs. It seems like the team itself, and if you have a better quarterback, it can cover. Like I don't think the receiver room is very good outside of Tony. Like Barcade's fine, and then your other guys are Joshua Moore. Who is he? The third guy there next year? Probably. I don't know who else it would be.
I don't think it really matters,
but
right? I mean, it wasn't like Keelan Marion and Cesar Daniels like really tore it up. They were just like situational random games where they'd have a big catch or something. Like Barcade is, in my opinion, way better than any receiver too that they had this past year. So looking at their schedule, they only play one team that was ranked in the top 25 last year.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. I just was looking at this graphic that came from Reddit CFB. It's a bunch of ACC teams that don't play anybody good, but Miami's one of them. So
I will just also address this. This is total side question here, but the Hammer in the chat says, Austin, I heard you mention high school competition and production score. Where do you find that on the site? We do not publicly provide that data. So at least not at this juncture. So if you want to find just high school like strength of schedule scores, though, those are just pulled straight from Max Preps. It's kind of weird to find it. What you should do is search, player Max Preps. Their page will come up. Up at the top, it'll say like, whatever their high school is. Like I'm actually looking at one right here. It says Gulfport Admirals. You click it and it'll take you to like a whole page. You just click football and rankings and it'll show you like what the strength of schedule was. And you can go year by year by year. So that's what we take for that if you're looking for that particular data. So just to answer that question, it's very much a side question, but I didn't want to ignore it as we are getting some questions here tonight. I don't know. Miami, they're going to be worse than last year, right? Though, I mean, like at least season finish wise, they might win the ACC, but do worse, like in the long run.
I don't think they're going to make the national championship, so I would say they will be worse. But
what about Duke? Worse than 7-5?
Yeah, I mean, Walker Eget, right? That's just kind of that's it, right? They lost Keyshawn Brown, they lost Barcade, like. They've thinned out their skill room at least. I don't know enough about their O-line, D-line type stuff, but Shepard's back, which is cool, right? I mean, he's a great option.
Could be good for him. Yeah. They brought in a couple of running backs too, though. That room might be like pretty full. They might not intend to give.
They didn't really give him that much. They didn't give him a full load until like the very end, maybe the final month. And you wonder, is that because of the system, or did it thin out, or was he a true freshman, right? Like. True freshman that turned into his final month, like then being able to handle a larger workload in P4. So
he's just tiny, or not. He's not tiny, but he's not
smaller on the smaller side.
You can get away with that in college football. I mean, we've seen guys do it. Even the 185 to 190 guys. I mean, I don't know what's his name at Louisville.
Isaac Brown.
Yeah, I don't know what he's listed at. It's not correct if I had to guess. It's inflated, but you can get away with being a smaller
he back. Looks small, I'll tell you that. He's listed at 5'9", 190 at least on ESPN.
At 190, that maybe he's hitting, maybe he's brushing up against 190. I don't think he's any heavier than that.
Maybe it's in the thighs,
Ask about that. I do have Duke's schedule up here. They play Tulane, Illinois, Stanford, William Mary, Georgia Tech, UNC, Virginia, Boston College, NC State, Miami, Clemson, Wake Forest. That is not a bad schedule. I mean, obviously, Miami, you chalk that up as a loss. And then, what's Georgia Tech next year without Haynes King?
What's Tulane?
I think they're better, but there's Boston College and NC State, Wake Forest. I don't know what Clemson looks like next year.
It's just like the ACC is basically, if you told me this team would finish 500, it's like a lot of them. Like I think almost every team in that league could finish 500, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep.
Like if you probably look at I don't know what when the Vegas lines come out of like projected wins, what that betting line is everybody between 5.5 and 6.5? Probably like, at least 12 of the 16 or however many 7, whatever they're at now. It's weird, but
yeah. Well, this feels like a good segue into the scheduling stuff that we wanted to talk a little bit about tonight. Chris, you wanted to talk about this.
Oh, I just gave an idea.
I didn't want to have anything to know. It was your idea. What kick us off. What are some things that you're looking at in terms of scheduling for next year?
I think some of the Big Ten stuff is shocker. Big Ten stuff is fun to look at. We get a lot of. I think Indiana skirted by this past 2 years and didn't play a ton of great in conference teams, and this year they can't avoid it. This year they play Ohio State, Michigan, USC. So you get some good matchups there. So I think just off the cuff, I think that schedule is more difficult and will be interesting with like a new offense. But how about Ohio State? Maybe that's the starting point. Have you seen their schedule? It is absolutely absurd.
I haven't seen the actual schedule itself. I saw that chart that you had sent from that at Reddit CFB had posted on Twitter, and I'm sure it was on Reddit as well. I think that's how that relationship works. With the amount of AP top 25 teams that teams are playing like from the final poll of this year, and I saw that they're the only team that's playing 6. So what do they got?
They did it to themselves to an extent, right? They play at Texas. They play Iowa, which is always interesting, at Indiana, at USC, Oregon, and Michigan. So they got, and it's spread out, which is kind of an interesting concept. But yeah, I think they're going to definitely have to earn it. That's for sure.
They're one of those teams that never really has that much trouble with Iowa, right? Though. Like I don't think
so.
Iowa has that hoodoo on a bunch of teams, but it never feels to me like Ohio State is one of them.
Purdue is the one that's gotten them, I think, once or twice.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's happened in a few years now.
Yeah,
I think
it was Roddale Moore was the last time.
Yeah, so that's even an older one. Yeah, it's not an easy schedule.
Did you see Penn State's schedule?
It's very easy.
It's quite the opposite. It's very easy. Yeah, this is about as good as it gets from a Big Ten or Power 4 perspective. They play USC and Michigan, and that's it. Like if USC and Michigan is your tough matchups, like that's a pretty good starting point to your year. They play Washington as well, but I don't think anyone's all that concerned about Washington as like a third toughest opponent.
Washington, to me, it's funny because they're a team that I thought kind of as the season was winding down, I was like, this is a team that they'll likely solidify a little bit. Like Fish has been doing a good job of kind of, assembling the parts slowly. They have Demond. Like if he takes the next step, that's a dangerous team. It felt like they maybe did like net even, maybe in terms of like losing and bringing in. It doesn't feel like they're stronger next year, which it was not what I thought was going to happen with them as we kind of, enter December.
Yeah, it felt like this upcoming year would have been the year, right? When you get your starting quarterback, you line up some different pieces alongside it. Instead, they kind of lost pieces everywhere and didn't add more or add anything better. But their schedule it's not great either. All these Big Ten teams have obviously some good schedules. I will say theirs is not super bad. They play at USC and they end the year at Indiana or versus Indiana and at Oregon.
That's not bad at all. Those Big Ten teams, the tough part is for them that if they have a bunch of trips that they got to go East Coast and then come back West Coast, like that's the tricky part for them, especially Washington and Oregon, who are up, Pacific Northwest has some long trips.
So, in the weather, the first couple of years, the weather wasn't horrible for Washington, UCLA, USC types, just because like they avoided it because of home and away and how it worked. And they still play, UCLA or nothing that's not unusual for their old Pac-12 years. But Washington at Michigan State, at Oregon, from a weather perspective, it's not going to be great. USC has at Indiana, but that's it. Yeah, it feels like most of them still avoid like the crazy bad weather difference from Pac-12 to the Big Ten.
You're calling it now, Penn State playoff? team. I mean, if they lose to Michigan and USC, the committee's not going to put them in, right? Even if they win the rest of those games.
Is that team good enough to say that they can just win to assume they can win the rest?
No, I mean, that's a good point too. But I mean, come on, man. Like Maryland, Rutgers, Minnesota, Washington, Purdue, Northwestern, Wisconsin in conference, like outside of those two like games that, I would say they're probably not going to be favorites in. And the USC game is in Happy Valley.
I am just basically thinking, could Iowa State beat these teams? Because that's basically what they are, right? It's just Iowa State and Navy.
Yeah, I mean they brought in 27 guys. I think I saw that followed Campbell from Iowa State. I think is the number.
The good news is Penn State always seems to have a great defense. They have a very experienced quarterback. I don't know what their offensive line looks like, but typically that feels like a good group. Like if you can just get good quarterback play and mix it with great defense and good O-line play, you could make some stuff happen. So yeah, this feels like a schedule that's workable, but I would never bet them to make the playoff at this point. That's for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I think if they go 10-2 and the two losses are USC, Michigan, I don't think they get in.
They just don't play anybody, right? There's nothing to beef up the.
There's no quality win there unless like Wisconsin or Washington ends up being really good. I mean, there's no way.
Who's the most likely team besides out of those top three to be like the big win?
What do you mean?
Who's the fourth hardest? Who's the one that could be the resume booster besides USC, Michigan, and just USC? Oh yeah, and Washington. Is it Minnesota?
It's either Minnesota or. Well, we talked about this because Northwestern has a brutal schedule. So like even if they're a better team than they were this year, it feels like it's probably not going to be reflected in the win-loss totals. Because you sent me, let me see if I can find, you said their bye week is week 2, followed by, this is from @CFBudge on @CF_Budge on Twitter. Their only bye is in week 2, followed by 11 consecutive games with no break in between. They draw at Indiana, at Oregon, at Iowa State, and Penn State.
Just talk about doing something, pissing somebody off. That's a schedule. 2 schedule questions from a fantasy angle. We talked about this in Slack a little bit. How much do you care about playoff schedule?
Not that much, just because in C2Cs with like a 45-man roster, even if you're assuming, right off the bat, 10 to 15 or however, some people do way more than that. I like stash guys. If you should have at any given time 20 to 30 guys that are playable, or at least in theory that you have chances to draft. I'm not that concerned about playoff scheduling when I'm drafting stuff. Like I'll just let those chips fall where they may. So we've seen teams that we think are going to be good, and all of a sudden you're like, that's a passive. Like you can pass for 400 yards on them, or whatever, real easy. So I don't think it's that big of a deal personally.
Would you consider Northwestern players like off your board, like a schedule that tough? Generally speaking, would you consider them off your board?
I mean, the only player that I'm really interested in rostering for them is Kumalafe. Anyway, like. They brought in Childs. I'm not like actively acquiring Eden Childs at this point. I have a hard time believing that switch is flipped this offseason to where he makes that offense appealing anyway. So no, I'm not like I'm interested in them in the first place. Are you any of those guys?
I think Kumalafe was interesting, and just from a toughness and game script standpoint, I just don't know if you reasonably could, right? It was kind of like the running back, Kyle Monungai, right? Like when he was at Rutgers the first year versus the second year, like how he performed against the tough teams was just so bad because the schedule was tough and the game script was awful. And then the second year, the schedule opened up very nicely for him and he was great.
Yeah, it's a good comp.
Week 2 bye is just
why do they do that to teams?
Who does the Big Ten actually decide that?
I don't know who decides that. The fact that it seems to be in the heart of non-con season leads me to believe that the Big Ten did not assign them a week 2 bye, because the Big Ten has an even amount of teams, right? So it's not even like the ACC where you've got a one random team hanging out any given week in the regular season that has to go find another matchup.
So I think it stems from them scheduling it looks like Ball State in week 6. So I guess if they scheduled Ball State in week 6, that means one of their non-con weeks is open. And if every other Big Ten team plays a non-con team in those weeks, then there couldn't. But that's not the case because Rutgers plays USC, UCLA plays Purdue. Like there's other Big Ten. So I guess somebody was going to get jobs in week 2 or week 3, but I don't know. Maybe they just said Northwestern, your season doesn't matter anyway. So here you go.
I've never understood from a fairness of competition standpoint why the NFL and college to a certain extent as well don't condense the bye weeks.
Like just everybody in the same week, basically?
Not the same week, but maybe like the NFL starts in week 5 and they go through week 14.
14, yeah.
Like there's such a disadvantage, like to.
Well, they don't want to if you're the NFL, you're trying to spread out and have as many games as possible throughout, right? If you have all of it in 3 weeks, then you have those 3 weeks, you have a lot less. But I think there might be a little bit of
5-week window. It doesn't have to be a
10-week you know what
window.
The answer is? The answer is Thursday night football, Monday night football, and accommodating for that. That's exactly why they do it, because it's easier to figure out that kind of, hey, who do they play next, or how do we not go 3 days rest on teams when you have 5 weeks?
That's a good point, though. I mean,
I don't think it's super consistent because I know it's unavoidable. Like if the Lions play multiple Thursday nights, potentially, sometimes you can't bye weeks after or before all of them, right? Yeah. So you kind of get mixed in there. But yeah, that's got to be the reason why. From a college standpoint, no idea.
Say that everyone has to do their bye between week 5 and week 10 or something.
Well, I think technically the Big Ten has everybody between week 5 and 10. So
Northwestern's had to be difficult.
Just the one. Just the
that's
one.
You're saying.
But I don't think that's the norm. Other conferences have earlier bye weeks, or because just from Underdog doing the drafts, they don't have the bye weeks listed. Like there's so many teams that do actually have like a week 3, week 4 buys. Week 5 feels normal, but Notre Dame was like week 2 bye. But this year there's only one bye in college football, which makes things a little bit simpler.
We need to abolish week 0. How do you feel about that?
I mean, today I'm cool with it, but when week 0 comes around, I would be wishing there was games.
Just start all the college football games that week.
Well, yeah, right. The whole Josh Pate idea is spreading, and that's
is that part of Pate's platform?
Did you see how he did like his whole fix college football thing? It was like move up the season to start on week 0, which is whatever, right? Week 0, which would then become week 1, and then you could move all the bowl games up and stuff like that. Yeah, that's one of his pitches, is abolish week 0, basically.
I mean, I actively avoid Josh Pate exposure.
He was getting quote retweets everywhere, so I'm surprised you missed it. You didn't get it.
I know I have him muted.
So... Jared posts about it too.
Okay, well, I have Jared muted too. Don't tell that little guy I said that. I don't.
Better than blocking. It's a little bit less awkward.
Yeah. Then the other person doesn't even know.
Exactly. So, are you doing anything differently or strategically with drafts or anything like that, with there only being one bye?
The only position, because you guys have talked a little bit about it, like the only position that it feels like it's ripe for tinkering with on that is QB, right? And then like maybe tight end, but you weren't like aggressively stacking up on tight ends anyway. You've come to the a 2 tight end is pretty much the world you want to live in for the underdog stuff. So it's not like QB. If you've got a really strong room, I think maybe you can convince yourself in like a C2C league to go with 5 playable QBs instead of having to, maybe worry about others. That feels like the only position that you really need to tinker with to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing C2C leagues, there's always just the thought I want to have as many guys as possible that could just be good. So like if it's a quarterback, it's a running back, whatever. I think if you're trying to say, hey, give me playable rosters weekly, yeah, quarterback's the one that matters less now because you're trying to you don't have to worry as much about injuries, right? If somebody got injured and you had multiple bye weeks, you could get in trouble. Now with there only being one bye week, you don't necessarily have to worry about that as much.
Right. You can afford being down
even better.
Yeah.
Right. There's probably not going to be as much overlap. I need to see them all together listed and be able to say like, hey, is this when you look at the top 25 quarterbacks on Jared's rankings, where do the buys line up? That might change things, but yeah, I think just generally speaking, not a huge concern from a quarterback's perspective. USC getting week 0 is a bummer, isn't it?
Is that this year that they get?
They just announced they're going to be playing week 0.
Oh, I thought you guys were talking about a future year with that.
No,
who are they playing? Not Notre Dame, right? Which is what the whole thing was, right? They were like, well, if we're doing it week 0 or whatever.
Opponent to be named at a later date.
They know it's January 2026, right? Like they
don't know how they could do that. How are we doing this at a later date? I don't know.
There's not much later.
It's a non-con game. They play Fresno State and Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Otherwise, nobody else. So it has to be a non-conference game. But what are they just going to play like a team that doesn't have a 12th game? Are they playing Hawaii?
I feel like
Hawaii's already playing week 0.
I feel like somebody who has the bandwidth / potentially some sort of spreadsheet is an oversimplification, but there's somebody out there who knows which teams do not have 12 games that I'm sure can narrow it down. I do not have that data.
Yeah, it's probably not as hard as we think to figure that out, but yeah, we don't have the data accessible, or at least super easy.
Okay, call your shot now. You don't need. Is it a marquee type matchup?
Not a marquee game. No shot, right?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be, but I don't know. No shot. I mean, maybe they are looking for a Notre Dame replacement.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not expecting it to be anything. I think I'd be more likely for it to be a FCS matchup than a marquee matchup. Because who does not have a 12th game that is legit? The only way it'd be a marquee matchup is if somebody dropped a game to add a week 0 game.
Yeah.
And I think some of these teams aren't doing. I think we're past that, right? I think we're past the whole super competitive schedules because of 12-team playoff.
Well, we know the SEC schools aren't going to do it, so you can rule all of them out. Yeah, I don't think it's a big matchup, but I just was curious if you thought it potentially could be, because that'd be fun.
It would be great. I'm trying to pull up to see who's playing in week 0 this year.
Yeah, what is the week 0 schedule? Who's the poor suckers that got the Ireland game?
Oh, it's even better. Rio de Janeiro. You know who's playing in Brazil? North Carolina State and Virginia.
When I think of two fan bases that are very Brazilian, I think NC State and Virginia. So this is good call on their parts.
Especially Virginia. The Dublin game is UNC against TCU.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of an interesting slate of games. Hawaii, Stanford, UNC, TCU, NC State, Virginia, New Mexico State at Florida State, and then also Memphis at UNLV, which I think from a fantasy perspective, I'm pretty interested. That's going to be Jackson. It doesn't count for anything. Jackson Arnold. Well, yeah, more from like fantasy players care about watching UNLV,
What do you think Memphis looks like this year?
I have no clue. I can't believe they made Brendan Lewis kind of work, which was the weirdest fit last year.
Colin and I talked about that so much. I was like, maybe they change everything that they do. That kind of feels unlikely to me. And then they kind of did, and it worked. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect there. I can't even. Who's their quarterback
this year?
Yeah.
Did somebody follow Charles Huffin? Or no, they got I have the transfer portal tracker right here. Let's see here.
Where can you find the transfer portal tracker, Austin?
You can find that right on the front page at campustocanton.com. And we actually have a couple of cool trackers within it, because you have the transfer portal tracker. You have a huge tracker that shows you all the players out of eligibility, which has made it very easy to sift through my rankings as I readjust them for 2026. And we also have the all the people that early enrolled. So early left eligibility wise. I could have sworn that Memphis brought in.
We got an Aaron Noland. I think that is correct. I hear that.
I think that is correct. They brought in a couple of guys. Let's see. QB. This position. They brought in Aaron Noland, Denzel Gardner, and Marcus Stokes.
Oh, Stokes is the guy from West Florida, I think.
Yeah, he's the guy. I always thought he got a little bit of a raw deal.
Oh, this finally.
Somebody
is going to talk about it.
Have you heard this story before?
No.
He had I want to say it was an FSU offers commitment, and he was on TikTok or Instagram Live. I don't know, whatever the kids are on these days, and was rapping along to lyrics and said the N-word as one of the lyrics. And I always said I thought this was just he's not a good he was not a power 4 level player at the time. He completed 50% of his passes as a senior in high school or something. He was not a P4 level player. It always felt to me like that was more just they were we kind of regret giving this offer out. Let's yank this thing when we have an excuse, because that is really not a thing. It's not like he was walking down the street yelling it at people or something. You know what I mean? There was no real malice behind it. He's a stupid 17-year-old.
I will say, looking up his bio changes things a little bit there.
He is white. Maybe you should have led with that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think you probably just can't say it regardless of the
I don't disagree.
But if you're saying, hey, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they said, you know what,
if it was Jared Curtis, would they have called him up and been sorry, buddy, you just can't come here anymore. What you did was terrible.
No. Right. Isn't it ironic? Didn't Marcus Stokes have a crazy, was he the one that had the crazy completion game, or am I thinking of someone else?
Might have been him. I don't know.
I think it was somebody else. Somebody a smaller school.
Is that the guy that completed 27 passes in a row? Or no, it was more than that, wasn't it? It was 30.
Yeah, it was something wild. Yeah, it was something real wild. But yeah, it can't be him. He didn't complete a ton of passes. He completed 60% of passes. So basically, if he had an insane game, he's completing 35% the rest of the games.
Were you the one talking about this earlier today about teams trying to go the Chambliss route but doing it the wrong way? Was that you or was that somebody else?
It wasn't me.
I saw somebody talking about it. Maybe it was in our Discord, the Canton.com Discord, saying teams are trying to capitalize on the Chambliss stuff. There's another Chambliss out there, and making some real not great decisions, just signing guys that clearly are not Trinidad champions.
Oh, gotcha. What do you? I guess let's start at the beginning. Why do you think Trinidad Chambliss worked?
Because he was good. I don't know. He wasn't on my radar. I'm not gonna pretend I had an eye on him coming into the season. I don't know. I was just as shocked as anybody where this all came from.
Probably was just talent that was overlooked that translated mixed with system. Probably, right? Experience helps. I think if you're going to if you're doing the Chambliss route, it probably starts with a guy that has a ton of snaps.
Yeah.
And then you just have to marry his skill set with your offensive system and hope that it works. Because I think you probably have to have, from a mental standpoint, enough to make it work. Things just move so much faster as you go up a level, right? Playing high school to college to professional, right? The difference is not the sport. It's how fast and how consistent you have to be.
Yep.
And so I think from a mental standpoint, Chambliss probably was way above his pay grade at whatever Ferris State. And that's probably why it worked a little bit too, to go along with the talent. Yeah. I don't think it's a wise decision though. No, you're going to get a 99 bad 99 bad outcomes and one great outcome. I don't think it's probably worth that.
As long as you're not relying on that guy to be the guy, because even Ole Miss wasn't we're starting Trinidad Chambliss week 1. The thing that I think some people are forgetting is the scholarship limit got raised, but you can't have walk-ons anymore. So it is creating a vacuum at the back of some of these rosters, especially with the transfer portal, guys leaving now, where you just kind of have to take some guys like that. And you think we think at home, why is this guy going there? He's never going to play there. And that's just part of the reason why. And you're probably making more money to sit on the end of a bench at Ole Miss than you are starting as the QB at Ferris State, I would imagine. I don't even know what the D2 rules are in terms of NIL and how that looks. But.
Yeah, you mentioned that theory or that idea weeks ago on Campus Life probably, and I think it's pretty spot on. At first I was like, I don't know if I believe that, and the more I thought about it, like I think I agree. Like so it's got you. I think at the time you basically said, you know, they want to be able to say they went to LSU, right? I think it was LSU receivers actually that conversation you had with Colin.
Yeah, it was the Troy kid, and they brought in like someone else real weird too, and it was like, what? You're never gonna play there ever.
So it's the big debate of like, if you're a receiver going to LSU, that's like from D2, right? It's like, okay, like I have a 3% chance of popping and being good, or I could go to Charleston Southern and also make no money, but play. Like what's better for me, or what do I care about more? It's an interesting outlook. But like you said, Chambliss went to Ole Miss. They were talking about like run package type stuff. And then it kind of was like a perfect storm of injury from Simmons. Plus, he didn't look the best. And when he got his time to play, he obviously looked great.
Do you think this is very, very what if? Do you think we would have seen Chambliss if Simmons didn't get hurt? Do you think they would have benched him at some point?
Probably not. It would have, because I think Simmons was going to be fine. He was a brand new starter. I don't think he looked that bad. Like, it wasn't like, oh boy, bench this guy bad. It was more like he got banged up, didn't look the best. And it was like, well, like, how do you go back? You know, how do you go back to that when you have Chambliss playing it like he did? What do you think?
I think if he had been fine, like if he had just a concussion and he was just going to miss one game, I think he would have gotten the job back. I said at the time, like people were like, after the first Chambliss game, people were like, how can you get the job back? I was like, there's not a coach on the planet that's going to bench the starter permanently off of one game from the backup. Like, it's just never going to happen.
A starter with multiple years, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a relationship you try to keep. Are you a Simmons fan?
No, I've always been highly skeptical on Simmons. I mean, the dude was going to be like a 20-year-old freshman and then reclassified 2 years back, and everyone was super excited about it. It was like, this is where he's supposed to be. Because he was homeschooled,
taking crazy
some
pills.
Joke of a thing at home, just taking like community college classes for years so that he could do this. Like, yeah, there was no, I was never like, it's like, so he was just like older than everybody in high school. Like, it was just like moving up the ranks. There was never to me like a indicator that he's great, but I think he'll be decent at Mizzou.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what do you think at Mizzou? They probably won't push too much on him, right? Like, I think previous quarterbacks have done a good job and haven't had to like have a just full load of attempts and carries and stuff like that.
Is he worse than Brady Cook? I mean, he's less experienced than Brady Cook. Is he worse than Brady? I don't.
Probably
not.
Probably all the same. Bo Perbula, same thing.
I don't think he's worse than Bo Perbula.
No, they're all kind of the same. Yeah. So you don't like any other quarterbacks at Virginia, is what you're saying?
No, I think they all are terrible. But as we were talking pre-show, Virginia is the one school in the country that plays 0 teams next season that were finished the season as top 25.
I gotta get a glimpse of what this thing actually looks like, because I know the ACC is not loaded with options. Well, technically they play at SMU, so maybe the graphic is wrong. Did SMU end ranked?
Oh. Yeah, at 17. So the graphic must be wrong because
unbelievable.
FBS schedules, I think, has the current. So yeah.
So they play the NC State game, Norfolk State. They play West Virginia, Delaware, FSU, Syracuse, SMU, Duke, Wake Forest, Cal, UNC, Virginia Tech. That is atrocious.
I don't understand. Is the NC State game a conference game?
I think it is, yes.
Or no more of that BS.
Well, does the ACC play 8 or? Oh God, I forgot. Some play 8, some play 9.
Yeah.
I guess Google could probably tell us.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 9 ACC football teams on this schedule.
It's an ACC conference game. Yeah.
Okay.
Last year it was not, obviously.
Yeah. It's
the 9-game schedule, which ACC is just ass backwards with how they do things.
Tell me about it. I was pissed. I was pissed when Pitt left the Big East years ago, and it's looking like I was correct. It just took a really long time to.
Well, same with Virginia Tech, right? I mean, Virginia Tech had like a 4-year span of awesomeness, but otherwise, like the Big East years or the Big East, like the big years.
I miss the basketball.
Well, Big East basketball was second to none-ish. Some iconic years with like Kemba and stuff like those Syracuse teams.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun.
What do you think about SEC schedules having teams having that cakewalk game in week 13 or the second to last week of the season? Have we talked about that before?
I don't know if we ever talked about. I don't mind it. I don't know that it really matters that much, like when the games are played. Like, would I feel better? Would it be okay if they played them week 2 but not week 12 or whatever? I don't know that it really. The schedule is the schedule. I mean, I guess there's instances where you're playing like 6 games in a row that are just brutal or whatever. But I just think generally like strength of schedule is strength of schedule, and that's it. I don't know. How do you feel about
it? I do find that the teams that do it have like the really big like rivalry game. It's the Iron Bowl and it's the Egg Bowl. Those teams all do it. So it's kind of like an interesting way to handle it. But I probably don't care about it more, that I'm just more annoyed by it from a fantasy perspective, because like these teams just blow out the other team, and more often than not, they are not giving us good fantasy matchups. You get the Kewan Lacey with the 6 touchdowns, but 5 touchdowns or whatever against Citadel. But typically that's not the case. It feels like. Yeah,
they sit them early-ish. Yeah,
rotate around enough and kind of spread out the touchdowns and stuff.
Yeah, Ole Miss had a bit of a problem with that this year, and it bit him in the butt in the playoff there with playing Lacey too long against Tulane in that first round matchup. He banged up the shoulder.
They brought him back in and back and forth. Yeah. But
all right. Well, I mean, I don't have anything else on the schedule. Do you have anything else on the schedule?
No. Let's talk really quickly. What do you think about I think it was November 7th. I think I shared it with you. The November 7th day of football. I'm going to read off the games.
Oh, yeah,
tell me how it ranks 1 to 10 in terms of like previous seasons. Like, oh my God, this weekend. November 7th, it's Oregon at Ohio State, Miami at Notre Dame, Alabama at LSU, Georgia at Ole Miss, and BYU at Utah.
I mean, I'm excited for a few of those games. I don't know that I really care that much about Georgia at Ole Miss at all. Is Ole Miss going to be good next year? I know it's, a rematch of whatever, but
I don't know. I don't know what to think about Ole Miss. I haven't decided yet on Ole Miss and how I feel about those players from a fantasy perspective. But
how do you feel about Pete Golding after the whole Dabo thing? Maybe we should have talked about that. I forgot about that.
We probably should have talked about that. Is it too late?
Let's close out the show with it. No, let's do it. But we can finish this thought. I mean,
for the record, I think the schedule, that's a great weekend. I think it needs a little bit of help from scheduling. Like we can't only have. We need it to be spread out, basically.
We know Oregon, Ohio State will be noon, right? So
big noon Saturday. Can't wait. Miami at Notre Dame. That'll be a Peacock game, so that'll be 3:30 Eastern.
Oh, really? You don't think it'll be night?
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I don't know when a lot of those games they do, but maybe the primetime one they kick it. But they played Purdue and Michigan State at 2:30 local. I thought, by the way, staying on brand, that you were going to say you don't care about BYU and Utah.
I have nothing against either of those fine institutions of learning.
Pete Golding, what's your initial take on that whole situation where he tampered so explicitly?
Dabo's right?
It's so weird to agree with what Dabo did, but it is right.
There's some old-timey stuff. Like I think that the game had passed Dabo by a very long time ago. We've beaten that horse to death on this show. We don't have to do that again. But there are some things that Dabo has done, and maybe it's under the guise of, better for the player or whatever. I don't really know. But I've liked some of the old-timey stuff that he does. Like, I really like that he says, if you commit here, you cannot take visits elsewhere. I love that he does that. And there's some other stuff that he does too, in terms of like really pushing these guys to come back to get their degrees, even if it's after they leave the NFL. Like, there are some things like that I do genuinely like that Dabo does. And I'm just very curious if late career Dabo, now that he's kind of irrelevant from like a coaching perspective, kind of is the crusader of this cause, which I think would be great because somebody needs to do it that has some sort of heft behind their name. And he is clearly not afraid of any of these other coaches, like at all.
He's like on the downswing of his career. So like, what's he really got to lose? And it is his shtick, right? Like this fits the mold of like what I would expect Dabo to do. Is he like the grandpa that like just doesn't care? So he's wearing like high white socks and is like, I'm just doing what I'm doing and you're just going to deal with it.
I mean, do you think he really like is like a player care thing for him?
Do I think he did it because he actually cares about like the player and all that
like,
type of stuff?
Let's ignore like this specific instance because obviously he's also pissed for other like for personal like benefit reasons. But do you think that his whole like, because he talked about it in the press conference, he's like, not beyond like the Tampa, like, these guys are going to 4 different schools in a bunch of different years. Like they have no networks. Some of them aren't even getting degrees in like 6 years. Like, do you think he actually cares about that kind of stuff?
I think he actually does.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of that plus like rules. I think he's like, the rules say this, we should be doing this, like I think.
And he's probably the only guy that isn't tampering, right? Like,
I mean, who's he tampering with? Like, what are they getting that's so interesting that you'd say like, wow, how did that happen? Like, they don't ever get like legitimate transfers. I mean, they have a clear need to try to do something at quarterback. If every other team was going from Klubnik to Vizina, everybody would have gotten a new quarterback, but Dabo held true. Yeah, I think he just loves the rules and thinks that like all the transferring and stuff is bad for players, which I think personally, I get it, but I don't think it's great in the long run. Like you better be a professional because otherwise you're probably hurting yourself in every other way.
I do think it's bad for the players. I do think there's a level where if you're preaching it too much, it does come off almost like patronizing. Like somebody has to look out for the kids. Like some of these guys are like 22-year-old men. Like at some point, they're adults making their own decisions. Like, yes, do we need to like clutching my pearls and saying that someone needs to protect them from themselves feels a little, like you're infantilizing them a little bit. But I do think like the general overarching whatever of what he says is true. Like,
are they going to actually do something about this?
I mean, under the current framework, how can you?
I don't know. Aren't there rules against tampering?
What are they going to do?
I don't know. NCAA does whatever they want, whenever they want.
This is one instance where I do think that there might be something because he has the texts and stuff or whatever from the agent. Like I think he has like just cold hard proof. I don't know what's the punishment? A fine?
Well,
you can't say the player can't enroll, and if they say that he can't play, that they'll go to court and say that at the new school they'll say that you're taking away chances for him to earn money. Like I think those are off the table.
This would be like, I think it would be kind of like similar to like Sharon Moore, where it's like you lose some ability to recruit maybe, and you can't coach a couple games or something like that. Like I think that would be appropriate, but I don't think you could do anything more than that. I think the proof is like so damning and like legitimate that I think you could do something and people wouldn't. If they came out and said that NCAA is suspending Golding for a game, like whose side would you be on, NCAA's or Golding's?
Oh, NCAA's for sure.
Yeah, I think the large majority would agree. And so to me, it's like, if it's that blatantly obvious, I think people wouldn't scoff at any sort of punishment, assuming it's nothing like insane, but like a game suspension, can't recruit X period or something like that, whatever those types of
take away scholarships. You can't do walk-ons anymore. It does actually kind of hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So scholarships.
It was wild. That video is not what I expected
awesome.
It was
awesome.
Weird. Yeah. I think Nate said, I can't believe I'm agreeing with something that Dabo did. And if that's the case, like, it's real.
Yeah. How much of the blame do you put on the kid?
I don't know how much you put on him. He's still a kid. He's easily persuaded. He's young too. He's not like he's a 23-year-old, right? Isn't he like a second-year guy?
I think he's a second-year guy. Yeah.
20 years old. He's probably just following the guidance of his agent, right? When did the agent get into this conversation? Golding and the player were texting. Did the agent know they were texting after being signed?
That stuff I don't know. The peripheral.
I'm just thinking, like, if he did, then I think the player would. I think if it was me, I'd say, "Oh, like my agent knows, and he hasn't told me to stop, so there's no harm in me continuing to text about it."
I think the player deserves a lot of blame.
Really?
Yeah, a good amount. And if there was something I could do to the player from a punishment perspective, I would also want that to happen. But I don't know that they can.
Why do you think that? Why so much blame to him?
I think that, don't make me get into like the decay of society, like the societal like safety net and stuff. If you signed a 1-year contract and you enrolled at the school, what kind of piece of crap are you that you were like a day later actually, like, you're sitting in class texting the other coach? Like, if you have any morals at all, you're saying, sorry, like, I've committed for this year, let's talk next year. I mean, because it's not for more money. It was a longer commitment, but 2 years and $1 million like each instead of 1 year. Like, Clemson, they would have given you that same deal even if your leg got blown off in the middle of a game. Like, that's just what Dabo is. Like, I put a lot of the blame at the kid's feet too.
What I had a question, I forget it, but it is an interesting, just the whole thing is interesting. But you don't think anything's going to happen to anybody, so it's a bummer.
If I could make him ineligible for a year, I think that would, like, I legitimately think that's an appropriate punishment, and it would keep kids from doing that anymore.
I was just that was my question. What do you think would lead to like more impact on like reducing tampering?
You
punishing the player or punishing the coach here? If they suspended the kid for a year, let's say they suspended the kid for a year, and they said, Golding, we're taking away 5 scholarships, and you can't coach the first 4 games.
The kid is a way harsher punishment. They only have, let's just say it's the 5 years to play 4. Like, let's just assume like that's the architecture we're working under. Missing out on one of those years hurts a lot.
What if it was like? What if it's like 2 games each? What if Golding misses 2 and Farrell misses 2?
How long can Pete Golding coach for a team that's not supposed to be good this year? Like, I honestly think for the coach, for it to have as big of an impact on the coaching, it has to be like you get a 5-year show cause, or like I think it has to. I think there should be huge penalties for this. If you can demonstrate that somebody blatantly tampered. And obviously then there's just becomes the finger pointing game. But that's why this case is so intriguing, because you literally cannot point your fingers at Clemson at all.
Yeah, I think what makes this really interesting is the proof, right? Like the actual, I think everybody agrees everybody's tampering, right? Except your own favorite team, of course. But like there's actual proof here, which, could be deemed like actual, like legitimate in like a court of law potentially. So that's what really separates this from other times where like Jed Fish is screaming about a player being tampered and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm glad we finally got around to like a real topic.
How did we forget about that? That's on us. That's
on Matt is what that is.
Would it have been better if Matt was here on that front? I don't know.
What side would Matt have taken, do you think?
I think the same. I think he would have been on team Dabo.
Right, of course. I think we're all on team Dabo. Do you think he would like want the player out like you did?
Oh, no. He's a softie with the players. I don't think he does.
He's softy. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
He is.
No, cool. Well,
all right. Well, that's gonna do it for this week's show, guys. Apologies to Kirk. We were gonna have him on, and we got into that Dabo discussion, so. Yeah. Unfortunately, we'll have to get him rescheduled. Make sure you're checking out everything over at campustocanton.com. From Chris K, from Austin Nace. Good night. Good luck.